What is going on out there, YouTube? John back again. First and foremost, I would like to apologize for the long delay on getting to do a new update video for you guys. Especially this goes out to my Blu-ray followers who like to see me do my Blu-ray reviews and the like. Unfortunately, we did have a family tragedy a couple weeks ago. My father, he passed away, and that kind of held me up on doing my YouTube stuff. So a lot of you guys have reached out to me, gave your condolences, and I really do appreciate that. But as the old saying goes, the show must go on. And my dad, he loved the fact that I did this stuff on the side, and he really appreciated this. So this video is going to be for my dad. So I guess we'll get it kicking off. This video is going to be a long-awaited update of the now complete Vestron video series, or I should say the Vestron collector series. So let's before we jump into all of these movies, let's start from the beginning. So back in the 1980s, Vestron was one of the leaders in home video entertainment. They did a lot of VHS. They actually started out as a company that distributed all the National Geographic stuff back in the early 80s. And then after, after that dried up, then they started becoming a distributor for a lot of independent films. Like the original Trancers was on Vestron. A lot of the original Empire Picture stuff was on the Vestron label. Like Troll, Toxic Avenger was released through their Lightning Pictures label. There was a bunch of really good stuff. Like I said, I already said Trancers, already said Troll. The Gate was on that. I have a lot of those Laserdiscs back there. But the thing with Vestron is they never really branched out into theatrical filmmaking. They were just a distributor. So back in 1987, they decided to take a gamble. They put up a small production budget for this film that they thought was going to flop, but it turned out to be one of the highest grossing films of 1987, and that film was Dirty Dancing. So yes, for all you horror aficionados, Vestron got its start in the theatrical market by doing Dirty Dancing. So by that movie becoming a success, they were able to put other films into production. Now, unfortunately, pretty much every single one of those films was a horrible flop. Earth Girls Are Easy was one of their last ones. They actually wanted to release, it was either going to be a wide release for Earth Girls Are Easy or a wide release for Waxwork. And they decided on Earth Girls Are Easy, and that one flopped. And then after it flopped, they were done. They pretty much just quit making, any production that they had, never saw a theatrical release. It always went straight to video. They didn't have enough of an advertising budget for it to go to home video or to theaters. So after that, naturally, back sometime in the 90s, Vestron ended up folding, and Live Entertainment ended up picking up the library. Now, Live Entertainment eventually became Artisan Entertainment, and today, as we know it, Artisan Entertainment is now Lionsgate Entertainment. Lionsgate now owns all that stuff. So recently, well, let's just start here. Lionsgate for a while was putting out a bunch of horror movies on Blu-ray. They were doing a pretty good job right in the beginning. A lot of good stuff came out, like Dead Alive. Right now, that Blu-ray is worth a lot of money right now because it's no longer in print. They put out The Relic. They put out the original Blu-ray of The Monster Squad, which was phenomenal. They put out The Running Man, which was a phenomenal Blu-ray. But then the problem was that the market started to shift. Not a lot of people were buying physical media anymore, and Lionsgate basically decided, well, we're not going to concentrate on our back catalog anymore. We're just going to start releasing, current stuff. We're going to just leave our back catalog alone. Well, one of the reasons this new label kicked off was because of a filmmaker called Jim Wynorski. With Chopping Mall, he did a 4K remaster of that, and he ended up meeting with the bosses at Lionsgate because he knew that that film belonged to them, and he persuaded them to basically get that film put out on Blu-ray. And in turn, they said, well, you know what? Scream Factory has been, making a lot of money doing these releases. They've been licensing out old films and, making a lot of money doing all these new restorations and special editions. And then now, Arrow Video, based out of the UK, they're doing the same thing. They're making a lot of money, licensing out films, doing that. So Lionsgate finally figured out and said, well, you know what? If there's a market for all these old horror movies, and if people are going to buy them, why not just sell them at a good, a decent price, and, we'll put them out there, make them limited editions, all this cool stuff. So at the end of the day, they finally, got off their collective asses, so to speak, and finally started putting out some good horror movies on Blu-ray. So from the beginning, we will start with good old Chopping Mall. Now, this is a movie, again, I always try to tell people, any of my actual friends who've met me, the summer of 1997 was a big year. That was my last year before I could ever get a job, and that was the year of the video store. We had a great video store that was literally a couple blocks away from my house, and they had the biggest horror movie section imaginable, and that was like my education in horror films back that year, because like literally every day I was renting 2 if not 3 horror movies a day, and that's how I saw most of these movies due to that. So, but anyway, Chopping Mall was a film I saw back in 1987. I really did enjoy the movie a lot. Basic synopsis is just, it's a bunch of kids who are trying to party in a mall after hours, and the robot security, malfunctions and mistakes all the kids for intruders and basically goes after them and kills them all. Some great celebrity cameos by the Roger Corman crew, being Dick Miller, Mary Warnoff, and Paul Bartel. They're all in this, and actually Mary Warnoff and Paul Bartel reprised their roles from Eating Raoul. So, and the thing with Chopping Mall is that movie has had kind of a sorted release on home video. There was a DVD put out several years ago. It had some supplemental materials, but unfortunately, I believe it was a full screen transfer. And then a couple years later, we ended up getting this little collection right here, this little horror collection from Lionsgate. Now, there's a lot of movies here you're going to see. There's Waxwork up there. There's C.H.U.D 2 right over there. And, of course, there's Chopping Mall right down there. So, Chopping Mall on this was a full-frame transfer. But the thing is, with Chopping Mall and the rest of these movies, every single one of these movies was filmed open matte. So, you're not really losing any image composition on the top and bottom. Now, while Chopping Mall is considered to be part of the Vestron label, in reality it really isn't. It's actually part of the Concord Entertainment label. So that was Roger Corman's production company. But that aside, as for the Blu-ray, now the thing is, it looks good. The picture quality is really good. Now, I don't want to go as far as to say it got a 4K transfer or anything like that, but the transfer that it actually did get was really, really pleasant. I really did like it a lot. It had a little bit of a pop to it. The film grain was there. There really wasn't, if there was any sharpening or edge enhancement, it was very, very minimal. Nothing that you could really catch unless you had like a giant display, which is something I don't have. But either way, it looked really pleasing to the eyes. The colors were very accurately represented. There was film grain on the screen, and there was some good detail to it. Not a big pop in detail, but there was really good detail nonetheless. The audio front, again, 2.0 mono, 2.0 stereo track, whatever you want to call it. It was really good. The soundtrack was, nice and front-centered where it should be. The supplemental materials on this are where it's at. You got, commentary with Jim Wynorski, Kelly Maroney, Steve Mitchell, second unit director. There's actually like 3 different commentary tracks in here, which is really awesome. And then you get a bunch of featurettes just with cast and crew members talking about the production of the film and the like. So this was a really good Blu-ray. This was one of the inaugural ones. I'm glad I picked that up. Now, the second one in the mix, we got Blood Diner, one of my favorite throwback cannibal horror films of the 80s. Again, this is one I saw back in 1987, or 1987, that's when it came out, 1997 when I rented it at the video store. And that's just basically, this is a loose remake of the movie Blood Feast, Herschel Gordon Lewis, 1962. So this is just basically about 2 brothers resurrecting getting the brain of their deceased uncle to try to resurrect the goddess She-Tar, and by getting dead body parts from various hookers and skanks and all this stuff from the like, making the blood buffet and bringing She-Tar back to life. This movie is very, very tongue-in-cheek with its humor. I adore the hell out of it. I think it's phenomenally funny. I've always liked it. There's just really nothing you could say about it other than it's just an insanely crazy movie, and it is so funny. The special effects range from good to bad. The acting is good to bad. There's a lot of overdubbing in certain parts, but for the budget that it had and for the product that came out of it, it's a phenomenal, phenomenal movie. To this Blu-ray, this did get a new scan courtesy with a restoration from Jackie Kong. And she did a very good job with this one. I'd say I like this transfer a tad bit more than I did Chopping Mall. This one just seemed to have a little more detail to it. It had just a tad bit more pop on the image. The colors were really nice and detailed. There was a nice level of film grain again. I'm going to say this for the rest of these. If there was edge enhancement or any digital noise reduction, I'm not seeing it. That comment goes for everything here. So, that aside, all these releases really don't have any digital noise reduction or edge enhancement. Even if they do, I'm not seeing it. But like I said, there's a film grain. There's film grain here. There's a nice slight pop to the image, more of a pop than there was on Chopping Mall. I did like this picture quality a little more. I almost did buy that Blu-ray from Dragon Entertainment a few years ago. Unfortunately, like I said, when it came to Blood Diner, you know, it didn't really get a good history of a DVD release. This was the only release we had. We got this a couple years ago. You see Blood Diner right up there in the corner. But then there was a DVD that came out in Germany from Dragon Entertainment that came out with a Blu-ray too. And the Blu-ray was region free, but unfortunately the audio was only 2.0 lossy, whereas this actually has a 2.0 mono DTS HD track. So, and that soundtrack is very good. Again, 2-channel, front heavy, but it sounds really, really nice. The supplementals here, again, where it's at, commentary with Jackie Kong, bunch of featurettes on the making of the movie, archival interview, and then theatrical trailer, TV spots, and a still gallery. So this one, really good release. Next one up, the one movie I like to call the ripoff of Cabin in the Woods. Waxwork, and then the piece of shit known as Waxwork 2, which is trying to mask itself as a Doctor Who story, I guess. I wouldn't know. But anyway, I did not buy this for Waxwork 2. I just got it for Waxwork. Waxwork, another great movie. Just basically a bunch of kids go enter a town. A waxwork opens up. They go in. They find out that the whole guise of it is basically to resurrect the ancient gods and all this stuff. You know, again, Cabin in the Woods ripped this off pretty hard. Really good movie. I want to say it's like Anthony Hitchcock's second best film. Sundown, Vampire in Retreat. That is his masterpiece. That is one of the best movies he's ever done. Waxwork is a distant second. It is a really good movie though. Always enjoyed it. Regarding the picture quality, again, now there was a you saw Waxwork on that one. But the problem with Waxwork that we've always had for the last several years since the inception of DVD was that Waxwork has always been presented in its R-rated cut version. Now, the only way you could see the uncut version was the nice Laserdisc that came out back in the 80s. And I said that was the only way. Until now, things have changed. Waxwork has been provided with an uncut transfer. All the original gore effects are intact. I've watched it front to back. Nothing is missing. It is identical to the Laserdisc. Now, the one thing I have noticed, now I have a few complaints about the picture quality. You could tell this one was really filmed in open matte when compared to the other two. The shots on this are super freaking tight. And I mean super, super tight. You could just see to where there's more room that needs to breathe on the top bottom of that picture. You know, that's why I'm going to keep the Laserdisc around, because shots were really, really tight on the 178 to 1 or 185 to 1 conversion. The picture quality was good. Again, no pop on this one. There was absolutely no pop. There is some detail. There is some film grain. But I do not know what they used to scan the negative or what source they used. But the source is very dated. Whatever they used, very, very dated source. There is some telecine wobble. And unfortunately, it's pretty persistent throughout the whole movie. You've noticed the frame wiggling up and down, back and forth. You know, that's one complaint. But at the same time, you know, to get it in high definition, to get it on Blu-ray, you know, that's a complaint. I'm really not gonna, you know, I'm not gonna really bitch too much about it. I mean, at the end of the day, does it still look good? Yes, it does. Does it look better than the Laserdisc? Of course. But you want to keep the Laserdisc around to see it in the open matte uncut version? Oh yeah, definitely. I'd rather keep the Laserdisc around. On the sound front, same thing. 2.0 stereo, same as the Laserdisc. Sounds fine. Very front heavy, 2 channels. Nice separation, but all in all, it's a good soundtrack. The bonus material here, very good. You got the audio commentary with Anthony Hitchcock and Zach Galligan. Phenomenal, phenomenal commentary, especially Zach Galligan. An underrated actor. He only, you know, he's done several movies, but like we're always going to remember him for Gremlins 2 and Waxwork. So that's pretty much it. You got the trailer, still gallery, and you got you got some new featurettes from Red Shirt Pictures doing some interviews. Now Waxwork 2, like I said, the less I'm going to say about it, the better. I did try watching it again, and I just couldn't sit through it because I think it's a piece of shit movie. But like I said, just for Waxwork, so there you go. Now, this was one of the ones I was waiting for the longest. This was kind of the holdout for why I wanted to do this review. Finally, Return of the Living Dead 3 on Blu-ray. We finally got it. This has been a long, long, long time coming. You better believe it. I still love Part 1 the most, but Part 3 is always going to be better than Part 2. I'll tell you that right now. Basic synopsis of Part 3. They're still using the chemical 2,4,5-trioxin in experiments through the government. The general's son decides to break in to see the experiments, and unfortunately, him and his his girlfriend get in a motorcycle accident. She dies, and he decides to go to the army base to bring her back to life using the 2,4,5-trioxin, but unfortunately it meets with disastrous results, and that's as much as I'm going to give away. As far as much as I love the movie, man, Brian Yuzna, phenomenal job on this film, man. Brian Yuzna's, Bride of Reanimator and Return of the Living Dead 3. Those are, and Society. That's like the triple threat from Brian Yuzna right there. He did all three of those in a row, and those are like his three best films he's ever going to make. Return of the Living Dead 3 had such a good story, had such good acting, and even for the shoestring budget that it had, they did a very good job with the limitations. They had Steve Johnson's special makeup effects, and this are phenomenal. So, again, this is one I'm going to suggest you pick it up right away just to see it uncut. Now, like I said, uncut. This is where we're going to get into the sordid video history here of Return of the Living Dead 3. That one, now this one, even though it says Vestron, this was not a Vestron release, actually. This was a release through, originally, Trimark Entertainment. Now, Lionsgate owns Trimark right now. And this was the original release from Trimark on Laserdisc. Now, the thing with Return of the Living Dead 3 is until now, the only way to see it uncut was on Laserdisc. VHS, there was an uncut version released. Now, when it hit DVD back in the 90s, it was cut. It was the R-rated cut. It wasn't full screen, but again, Return of the Living Dead 3 was filmed open matte, so you're not going to lose any image composition on the top and bottom. But like I said, it was still uncut. This was a DVD I never owned. I never owned it for years. I purposely stayed away from it. And then finally, earlier this year, the Laserdisc popped up. My good friend, he ended up hooking me up with a copy, and I finally got my hands on it. There was a Japanese Blu-ray that came out a couple months ago. And unfortunately, it was presented in the original aspect ratio, but it was still using the cut version. So when Lionsgate announced they were doing this, everyone was crossing fingers like, please let this be uncut. Please let this be uncut. And they announced, yes, it is uncut. We're finally going to present it the way it was meant to be seen. Thank goodness. Now, as far as the picture quality goes, it's good. And I mean it's good. It's better than average. It has a good pop. It has the film grain is there, contrast levels are good, black levels are good, color levels are good. There is some detail to be seen. Like I said, it has a good pop to it. There was an anomaly that I witnessed while watching this movie. It was right near the end, right after the girl's captured. There's a scene where the general is talking to his son, and if you look closely in your HDTV, the image shifts over a little bit, like there's a little bar on the side of your screen. Now, I do not know if that was an authoring error or if that was an encoding error on Lionsgate part, but confer with me if any of you guys have bought this and check with me. That was like the only anomaly that I've ever seen. It was just like a little bar on the side of the TV. It was pillar boxed for like maybe a minute and a half. It was pillar boxed, but then the screen went back to normal. But other than that, like I said, that's just a small problem. The rest of it looked good, very good picture quality. The audio quality is really nice too. Again, standard 2.0 track. Good surrounds, good mix. It was good. Very front heavy, audible dialogue, everything. Special features, man. These are good. This was the special features I was waiting for. Now, there was a documentary that came out a couple years ago called More Brains, Tribute to the Return of the Living Dead. They talked about all three movies, and unfortunately, the one person they couldn't get was Melinda Clarke. And God, I love her so much. I really do. She is a very beautiful, very talented actress, and I was very, very disappointed that she didn't get in on that interview. But, Lionsgate have rectified it. We got a brand new 18-minute interview with Melinda Clarke, and I was very happy to see that. Great interview. Finally get to shed some light on her experiences during the making of Return of the Living Dead 3. We got the audio commentary by Brian Yuzna, Melinda Clarke, and Tom Rainone. We have another interview with conversation Brian Yuzna and John Penny. Interviews with Steve Johnson and Chris Nelson. More interviews, yada, yada, yada. Then we got trailers and a still gallery. So very healthy supplemental package here for all you Return of the Living Dead 3 fans. The end-all, tell-all release. As it stands, this is my second favorite one out of them all. Blood Diner's number one. This was number two. This was the sucker I was waiting for forever, man. So this one I'm glad finally came out. And last but not least, we have the black sheep of the bunch. C.H.U.D 2, Bud the C.H.U.D. So, I bought it anyway. It's a good freaking movie. I don't care what anyone says. It's still a black sheep, though. Only thing I can say about this is just think of Night of the Creeps, and it's basically a loose retread of Night of the Creeps. That's all this movie is. You know, basically a bunch of kids break into an army facility, they steal a dead body for a prank, and it turns out to be the last remaining C.H.U.D, and the C.H.U.D comes back to life and makes more C.H.U.Ds, and it's up to the kids to stop them. Has a good twist ending to it. It's pretty funny. Robert Vaughn, he's pretty damn funny in this. I like him in it. One of the funniest things out of this is the guy, Brian Robbins, one of the main actors in this movie. He actually, you know, came off of this and had a pretty successful film career, so, as a director, so there you go. As far as C.H.U.D 2 has gone on the release front, same thing for a while. We had this sucker right here, of course. You guys got to see these Laserdiscs, so there you go. Like I said, this was the only way we had it for a while, was the Laserdisc. In Europe, they came out with a widescreen version of C.H.U.D 2 on DVD. And then a couple years ago, you saw that one film pack down there. We finally got a release of C.H.U.D 2 over here in the States in that 8-movie combo pack, and it was presented in widescreen for the first time. But then again, C.H.U.D 2 finally made its Blu-ray release, and unfortunately this is the one that has the worst picture quality of all the releases. Whatever source they used, it was not a new scan, it was an old scan. It was probably the same exact scan that was used for the Anchor Bay DVD that was released in the United Kingdom all those years ago. They probably used that exact same scan because maybe they didn't get access to the negative. I don't know. But the picture was very soft. It didn't have a lot of fine detail, but at the same time, it wasn't filtered. Now that's what Universal does. Universal takes old masters that were prepared for the DVD area, then they slap digital noise reduction and edge enhancement all over and make them look like total shit. You know, that would be Tremors right there, the original first release of Tremors. But this one, they didn't do that. Even though they used an old scan, they didn't filter the hell out of it. You know, there's still some good color reproduction. You know, there's absolutely no pop. Like I said, it's a flat image, but does it look better than the DVD? Of course it does, due to that added depth and clarity. Is this the best it could ever look? Certainly not. A scan from the negative would have been a hell of a lot better. The sound holds up a little bit better. You know, nice 2.0 front-heavy mix surround soundtrack. You know, there's some good, wavering sound effects back and forth. Dialogue's audible. But at the same time, like I said, that picture quality just is, just yuck compared to the other four that preceded it. But again, still, it's C.H.U.D 2 on Blu-ray. We finally got it. So, this one, unfortunately, compared to the others, not a lot of supplements. You got the audio commentary with David Irving, you got interviews with Garrett Graham, Trisha Lee, and Alan Apone, and you got the video trailer and the still gallery. This was supposed to go to theaters, but unfortunately, because Vestron didn't have a big budget, never got to see the light of day at the theaters. It was straight to video. So, on that note, guys, that's it. Finally got the Vestron video series for you guys. Hopefully you will all enjoy my thoughts and my feelings on these 5 films. In case none of you have known, they have released the next, they have announced the next 2 titles. We will have Lair of the White Worm and Parents on Blu-ray at the end of January. And those are 2 movies I will be pre-ordering as well, because I have those on Laserdisc, and I've been looking for those on DVD, or Blu-ray for quite some time. But as we sign off, I leave you with this. Hope you all have a happy Thanksgiving. Don't trample anybody when you're going out Black Friday shopping. And as always, keep it spinning. Talk to you later, guys. Bye-bye.